board meeting of Texas Southern University Board of Regents for Friday, August 19th will now come to order. It is now 9:09 a.m. We will now have a roll call by Ms. Faith Ruiz.
Regent Mitchell.
Present.
Regent Terrell. Present. Regent Rose. Present. Regent Bryant. Present. Regent Bell. Regent Bledsoe. Regent Lewis.
Present.
Regent Montiernoni. Regent Salwin. Regent Brock.
We have a quorum. Board, I will start with the board business, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the from the prior meetings.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll have open forum. I have 3 people on the list. It'll be first C.J. Tomzak, Alexis Brooks DeVita will be second, and then David Baker will be third. You have 3 minutes to speak. Welcome.
Hello. A little not used to this, but okay. I'm Professor Tomzak from the Department of Physics. I want to speak about issues that are happening in my department due to my chair. I speak at this because I've tried all other avenues and I'm sort of out of options here, and I would like to inform the board about what's happening. A little bit about myself. Before this, I was at Los Alamos National Lab as a research scientist. I am a co-developer of a quantum chemistry code called TSU. I'm founded the Texas Southern University High Performance Computing Center and manage it. I'm a co-director of the CREST Center that we have here. I've brought close to $2.8 million in research funding to this university. I'm a full professor. I've published close to 52 papers, close to 900 citations on those papers, have stellar teaching evaluations always, and basically graduate 3 PhD students and 7 master's students in a department that doesn't even have a graduate program. My problem is my chair. My chair has a vendetta against me. I've tried all avenues at the university to try to rectify this, and so far to no avail. This harassment, intimidation, and retaliation has continued since 2009. I came here in 2006, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. I'm sort of at the end of my rope here. I mean, he wouldn't have done this normally, but he is now damaging me financially, and it's putting me between a rock and a hard place. He has done things like he has blocked my tenure. He has blocked my promotion for reasons, and I have stacks of documents that are unjustified. He has docked my pay, which later was reversed by the provost. He has, God, there's a whole list of things that this guy has done. Recently, what he has done is he's trying to block my August pay so I don't get paid in August through research money. This goes on and on and on and on. And I'm asking this board to do something, if they can, about this, because I've contributed and want to contribute to this university, but I am pretty much at the end of my rope here. There is no other options I have. And I have, if any of you are interested, I have documentation about this. What I would ask the board to do, honestly, and I have asked for this, there's 2 things that can solve this problem, is to try to see if they can rectify this problem, as is to, the thing I'm basically asking for, can you please remove this chair from his position of power over me? That is what I'm asking. I have 5 seconds.
Okay, thank you. As you know, we're not allowed to talk to you directly.
Okay. Any
but
questions?
We hear you. We hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Alexis Brooks DeVita.
Thank you. Good morning to the members of the Board of Regents, President Lane, and Provost Ford. This is my son-in-law, Alfonso Arteaga, who's come to be of support. Thank you for receiving my request. That is one of 2 full professors of English in spring 2016. My course load and schedule for fall 2016 be adjusted to accommodate the requests that I've made since February as soon as I saw the scheduling. 5 days a week, 4 classes, despite the fact that I am a publishing regular graduate faculty member. I have a particular reason, and I have submitted this packet. I submitted it originally wrongly through the council's office, unfortunately. Therefore, now it's here in hard copy. I hope you'll look at the information that's included. I'm trying to skip and summarize. I have a letter from my granddaughter's pediatrician. On May 30th, 2016, my granddaughter suffered a seizure so swift that in the 1 minute my daughter left to start running her toddler bath, she returned to find her daughter lying with her eyes open mid-seizure. Quick cooperative work between the 2 adults, that's myself and my daughter, who know Luna and whom she trusts, saved her life. Not the teams of firemen and EMTs, nor the emergency responder on the phone, who all did their very best to rush Luna and us to the hospital in an ambulance with the sirens going. That day we were at Children's Hospital for 7 hours. After an MRI and EEG, numerous visits with specialists and the pediatrician, Luna is now on twice daily medication and 2-year observation, and my daughter has found 2 online jobs that she can do at home. My daughter is a doctoral candidate in curriculum instruction in York College of Education. Her husband is a CASIT alum, works with the Mexican consulate, and keeps attempting to bring a more international and interethnic body of students to TSU. I request that the Board of Regents, President Lane, Provost Ward, agree to refuse to allow the closing of my 2 graduate English courses this semester, as they have been closed every semester for the past 2.5 years. And assure the assigning of any additional evening or Tuesday, Thursday classes to me for fall 2016, instead of the 5 days a week, 3 days, midday, when doctor's appointments are going to have to continue to be scheduled. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm asking, please be cleared. That classes be signed in cooperation with me in accordance with what I believe are the guidelines of the 2014 faculty manual, rather than my constantly being told it's up to the chair to simply assign as he sees fit. He has told me that I am to stop focusing on research at a time when I've been invited to submit 4 book proposals to Palgrave Macmillan, University of Illinois Press, and to McFarland. He's told that I am to stop focusing on my research and simply focus on teaching. Why is this up to him?
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Baker. David Baker. Okay, board, looks like we lost the quorum, so I'm waiting for Regent Lewis to rejoin us. We don't have any, I tell you what, Mr. President, we'll go ahead and move to your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to start off by saying or giving a lot of thanks. As you know, it's very, very challenging to get a fall semester off the ground, and we're a few days out from doing that, and so our students are coming in, and most of those students are here now and will still be flowing into the institution. But I think I would be remiss if I didn't thank some of the folks who probably don't know the type of impact they make on the university campus, and one, that's our groundskeepers. If you have walked our facilities, and I don't know if Daryl Bunch is here, and is Daryl here? Daryl, yeah, Daryl, great job. If you walk our university campus, it is absolutely beautiful. The grass is cut and manicured, and the bushes look great. I mean, if you drive through, most of the time when students show up, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And so when you talk about retention and you talk about students wanting to belong to a first-class institution, it has to look good, it has to feel good. And so I really applaud all of the groundskeepers, the maintenance folks that are here doing such a wonderful job. We had our faculty opening in this room on Wednesday, and so I want to thank Dr. Ward and Dr. Sanford, Dr. Wu, This entire room was packed with all of our faculty, and we're welcoming them back. We have over 530 faculty members that are here and teaching and educating our students, and so I want to welcome all of the faculty back again. We had a great meeting the other day. Went very well. The other piece is I want to thank all of our student services personnel, because they're over in the HP Center as we speak and trying to register our students, and they don't get a lot of breaks, and Antonio knows what I'm talking about. They don't get a lot of breaks over there, and so they spend a lot of time with our students making sure that they get what they need, and that's very important, and so we don't thank them enough. I just want to publicly thank them for the work that they are doing. We'll have some updates on SOS, so I'm going to ask Wendell to come forward and give you some highlights on Summer of Success, and then we'll talk a little bit about the dashboards. I didn't see Lewis. Is Lewis here? Okay, Lewis, you may want to make your way down as well. So, Wendell?
Thank you, Chairman Mitchell of the Regents, Dr. Lane. As we're loading the PowerPoint, I want to tell you a little bit about a program that we put together this summer called the Summer of Success. The board, August board. Okay, and I'm going to move through this pretty quickly, but I do want to pause on a few seconds. We've had some requests from Regent Terrell about some information regarding a profile of TSU, so I want to start there. Next one, please. When we first got here, we began to look at a historical pattern of enrollment trends for the past few summers, starting back at the summer of 11. And as you can see there, the numbers fell from 3117 to roughly 2177 for summer enrollment, and we had no idea what would happen this summer. Next slide. So we began to identify a need for a program for the fall so that we could do something to make sure that the summer enrollment would not bleed over into the fall, this being a base year. We receive almost 10,000 applications. Some of those, and most of those, some of those are duplicates, some of those are not completed applications. So when you look at just the applications that's completed, we receive 5,800 completed applications. We accept 5,300 of those applications, but 1,300 of those students do not meet the requirements that we have with the ACT and the high school test scores. And another 356 of those students, we just outright deny admission because those students' scores are just too low. Next slide, please. So when we looked at what those scores are, back in 2012, we increased our admission standards where the student has to have a 2.5 GPA and an SAT score and an ACT score of the numbers that you see. And this was to help raise our college preparedness standards. So we wanted to first evaluate, as we're beginning to do this, what effect did that have on enrollment, and did it actually increase the quality of students that we're bringing to TSU? Next one, please. So we started looking at the ACT scores, the historical patterns for the ACT scores, and you can see even with the changes that occurred starting in 2009 and continuing to 2015, there had not been a substantial change in SAT scores or ACT scores, even with the increasing of the standards. We became more selective, but the students who are the students that we were looking for are not selecting us. Next slide, please. We looked at the high school GPAs, and you can see same pattern. And the increase in the standards did not have a positive effect on the students' high school GPAs, the average high school GPAs. Next standard. We also looked at how did those students do after they stayed here for 1 year, for the first semester. And you can see the first semester GPAs did not increase as well. Next one. Next one, please. We looked at the persistence rates, and if you go back we actually began to see lower persistence rates, even though we had higher admission standards. Next slide, please. So Dr. Lane gave,
Can you go back one slide? What's the red line and what's the gray line?
okay, the red line is the fall to fall. Reginald, I need some
Okay.
help here. One of them is fall to spring, which is the red line, and the gray line is fall to fall.
Oh, I see it now at the bottom, okay.
Yeah, oh, sorry about, yes.
So your fall to spring was 76 and then 46 for fall to fall for 14, 15.
So you see, we lose a lot of students from that spring semester who do not come back that next fall semester.
Yeah. What do you think the average is for, I guess, our cohorts in general, in terms of the same persistence rates?
The fall to spring persistence rates usually run somewhere in the 80 percentile range, and
Okay.
the fall to fall is somewhere 55 to 60, depending upon the type of institution it is.
And I think we've set as a goal for this year, for our fall to spring, to at least be 81%, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if Dr. Crockham is up there, but we've been working on the performance pieces there. So we're going to try to get that up. And then the real issue is fall to fall persistence. As Wendell's highlighted, we're at about 46%. I think we're trying to increase that to at least 50 some odd percent.
And please keep in mind of the group that we're talking about. If you look at fall to spring or fall to fall persistence rates of all students, that may be something different. We're talking about first-time freshman students. Next slide, please. So the charge from Dr. Yes, sir.
Can we go back again? Is it fall to fall? Are they actually persisting to become sophomores, or are they just coming back and enrolling?
The average number of hours that the students have been accumulating is about 13 hours or so. And so they are not becoming sophomores. They're actually just returning. Excellent question.
So it's what, 30 hours? Is it 30 hours?
30 hours, yes, sir.
Okay, so they're coming back as freshmen mostly. Okay.
Next slide, please. So Dr. Lane charged us to create a program to meet the demands of the 60 by 30 Texas Initiative and make sure that it's going to be a short-term program that gives the students the opportunity to see if they actually could succeed in an institution, because what we found out is that I also tracked the enrollment patterns at the University of Houston downtown and the local community colleges. And at the time that we were losing students, they were gaining the types of students that we were losing. Next slide, please. So we, about 2 weeks before the second summer term started, we assembled a team of people, and I want to thank them for just putting the ideas together to put a program together in about a week's time. I want to also thank the chairs and the faculty who taught in those programs and helped assemble those classes. What we wanted to do was offer a mandatory 1-hour freshman seminar course that was designed on the current best practices that integrate students, is taught by the right kind of people. It's really a deprogramming every day of what's going on to make sure that the students are successful. And then we gave them an opportunity to take 2 3-hour courses. We wanted them to be able to take credit courses, but many of these students had developmental requirements and they did not qualify. So what we wanted them to do was to become, quote unquote, college ready or ready to enroll in full regular college courses by the end of their first term, by the summer term. The cost, we patterned it on the previous summer programs. The cost was $900. It allowed them to live in the residence halls. Those costs was offset by Houston endowment funds and other grant funds that we had, to live in the dorm for the 5-week period of time, room and board, and receive the 2 classes. We did allow them to substitute the developmental classes as well. Next slide. So who were they? When we put out this call and we posted it on social media, that If you were denied admissions, we sent email letters to all the students who were denied admissions or conditionally admitted. We began to see that we did a random sample. We have a pre-test and a post-test. We looked at a number of factors. What was the grit? There is a grit score that's out there to see how determined these students are to succeed. And we found that these students had a higher than average amount of grit than other students. But 69% of the mothers of these students did not have a college degree, and 92% of the fathers of these students did not have a college degree. Next slide, please. We centered the program around 3 pillars. The first pillar was instruction. For those sections, we met midterm with the instructors and talked to them about the philosophy of the program. We asked the instructors to do weekly progress reports to see who was attending and who was not attending. We asked the instructors we also asked them to embed instructors or tutors inside of their classes because these students had mandatory 2-hour tutoring sessions at the end of each term. We also engaged them inside of the residence hall and outside of the residence hall, and we helped them to register for the fall semester. So what were the results? Next slide. As you can see, if you're looking at these totals, look at the grades of the students who passed their courses with a C or better. Of course, the lowest area was mathematics, but that is extremely high for this type of student. And you can see the pass rates for the other courses. Next slide. Next slide, please. We had 259 students participating. 256 of these students completed the program. Next slide. So 99% of the students completed the program, and the persistence rate was 94%. If you remember that persistence rate that we talked about, you can see that these students did extremely well. In the fall, they have registered for an average of 14 credit hours rather than the 13 credit hours that we're seeing. Next slide. So what does that mean? We actually saw, next please, we actually saw a 1.7% increase in enrollment for the summer period. And I think that's it. Next one, please. Well, this number has been updated. We've got about 8,500 students you'll find that's registered right now. This was yesterday morning, so we have about 8,500 students registered now, and Dr. Crockham is predicting that we will have 9,108 students compared to 8,965 using their logistic regression prediction model for the fall term.
So, and I guess with regard to the summer, you started this summer of success the second half of the summer. So we were down a little bit the first half. Good job.
Thank you. Next slide.
I got to have one question.
Yes, sir.
It's to Mr. Ness. So the projection is 9,100 students. The budget is based upon how many students?
8965.
8960. Thank you.
So what can the board do for spring possibilities? There exists an opportunity for us to add another enrollment period. Most colleges are calling a late start period or a flexible entry period. The coordinating board reads that any kind of courses that you start after the census date, they're counted on the next enrollment period. If we do anything as a late start period for students who might be trying to get into classes now and not too late and their financial aid is not processed, it's a possibility of adding a late start. And since there has never been a late start here, that is just brand new enrollment that will go in for the coordinating board for the credit terms for the upcoming period. So just as a thought. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious to hear more about this late start. These are students who enroll after the registration period is over, and classes have already begun.
It would be another class starting period. It might be an 8-week term, a 12-week term, or a term alternative to the 16-week term. It would finish during this term, but it would be a different kind of
So they
tournament.
would essentially take more classes per week, maybe?
Or more hours.
More hours.
A normal Monday, Wednesday, and Friday class that's an hour might be an hour and a half class for 8 weeks.
Okay, now I understand. I taught classes like that at Tarrant County College.
Yes.
As an adjunct professor. I understand now, okay.
And to just give you a snapshot of what the current fall is looking at, you can see, Louis will show you the actual dashboard that will be updated, but this is just a snapshot from the dashboard as of this morning, about 8:15. And you can,
Let me add to that too. I know we focused a lot on head count. The number you're seeing is the head count, but really the number that we're most focused on, I see Craig shaking his head, is the semester credit hour. That's how we're funded. And so that, one is usually a media number and the other is a real behind the scenes, here's what's going to fund us number. So we're tracking that as well. Louis, you want to come up? Wendell, was that your?
I have a student.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is he here? Is Yvette? Can you come down, please? Okay, you can stay right there at the mic.
How you doing?
The numbers don't tell the story. I just wanted you to meet one of our SOS students.
Good morning. My name is Kyrie Mason. I went to the SOS program. It helped me a whole lot. I finished the program with a 3.6 GPA. So I was admitted into the fall. Just really thankful. It helped me a whole lot. It helped me get the taste of what the classes are actually like. And it just kept me engaged and let me meet a lot of people and see a lot of things I've never seen before. I'm not from here. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
Could you tell them about how you paid for the program?
Oh, well, back where I'm from, I was working 3 jobs, and I used the money to pay for the program and along with my $200 deposit for my housing to secure it.
And we met him during the program, but the thing that struck me the most is that this young man who was already moved into the dorm, on Sunday when we came out to help move students into the dorm, he was downstairs volunteering, helping to move other students into the residence hall. It's a lot of times that I've read stories where stones that have been rejected have become chief cornerstones, and so I think we see a chief cornerstone here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mason, welcome to Texas Southern.
That's right. Pride of Oklahoma, huh? That's good. Now you're proud of Houston. Good to see you.
I did have I suppose a question or comment. I'm hearing from, college-age students, not so much here, but in those I talk to, that they're getting messages about, the college education experience is not worth it. That all they're going to get is a bunch of student debt and no job. And they say that they're hearing it from, quite frankly, some of our political leaders and some of folks in the media. But when you start looking at the Department of Education, or Department of Labor kind of sort of statistics about college, the level of college completion, whether it's completion 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and the impact that it actually has on your lifetime earnings, that kind of sort of story contradicts some of the hyperbole out there and misinformation. But my sense is the real information is not necessarily getting to students. And I know there's some talk about freshman seminars and things that are going on in these kind of sort of programs, but I don't know the effort to which there is an effort to actually press the argument that college does pay, and it's actually worth the money that your tuition will afford. So hopefully that you'll get some benefit out of that comment.
Thanks.
Louis, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. Good morning, Regents.
He's been working really hard, and I think he's really excited to unveil this to each of you. This dashboard, the idea behind it was that you could have access at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to see exactly where we are in a number of critical areas that you probably have questions about a lot. And so with that, Louis, you want to kick it off?
Again, good morning, Regents, Chairman Mitchell, President Lane. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you again today. Yesterday, I was asked a question during the committee meetings by Regent Montier about how we use Banner. Are we using Banner as much as we can, and so on and so forth. It's a complicated answer because Banner consists of multiple modules for finance, financial aid, students, and so on. And like any other ERP system, like PeopleSoft and so on, I don't know if you remember the old commercial where they said, we don't make your product, we make your product better. Most ERP systems require you to attain bolt-ons, third-party software, things like that, that focus on an area that makes that product better. And so over the years, in my tenure here in various forms and fashions, we have tried to bolt on and add third-party software to make the Banner product better. And one of those products is called Argos. It's a report writing system. And we've had it for a number of years, and we've been using it to generate reports over time because the report writer that comes with Banner, like a lot of these systems, isn't all that exciting. It's not very user-friendly, it's not very dynamic, and so on. So we acquired Argos several years ago, but until recently, I feel like we haven't been getting our bang for our buck. We were challenged by President Lane and Mr. Williams to develop some intelligence dashboards. Now, we've done so, and it's going to be a constantly evolving sort of thing. What you're going to see today to begin are just some screenshots because our dashboards actually are running in production. And I did provide Ms. Ruiz some screenshots for you. They're a couple of days old now, but it will illustrate the point that these numbers are changing over time. So if you can't see this too well, you'll have some printouts. And I believe the plan still is to allow you to have access directly to these dashboards. So you will be able to run these numbers. Now, I will caution you not to run them constantly as we're running them in production. And one of the reasons we did the screenshots, instead of showing you the dashboard directly, we'll give you a glimpse, but we're not going to run this in production because we're registering students right now. And I do not want to impact anything that's happening in the rec center. I'm not going to be held accountable for that 9,100 number not being made, okay? I already challenged myself yesterday. I don't know what I was thinking. So what you're looking at here is a 4-tab executive dashboard for students, all right? And I'm going to refer to the left as we go left to right on the screen to sort of the panels, if you will, because there's a lot of programming and scripts that are going on behind the scenes here to pull the data. But this is production data, live data. And so what we're doing here on this particular registration tab is showing you where we stand in terms of enrollment compared to the same day enrollment last year. So this is called a comparison day registration dashboard, okay? Now, that days don't line up with dates, so what we're doing is at the bottom panel on the left, the report information is going to tell you what day we ran the report and how many days we are from the start of term. Once we get to Monday, that number will be a negative number because we're now past the start of term, but as you know, we continue to register, enroll students, and so there will be a countdown on the other direction on sort of a sliding scale. But this gives you a real-time data on how we're doing at each of the colleges respective to last year's term. So it's fall to fall. And we've had this data, but we've never displayed this before. So what this does to me, it does three things, right? Dashboards should inform us, or they should allow us to make decisions. But most importantly, they create a sense of transparency, right? If we all can get in there and look at the data, then we can discuss it, we can correct it, we can make decisions about it. And I think Antonio's doing some zooming for me, that's great. So on the right side, you can see the data respective to the colleges. And as you can see here, we are actually behind at most of the colleges by some small percentage. That gap has been closing. This particular dashboard screen print I ran at the end of our long day yesterday to get a sense. I think this is about 5:30 in the afternoon. Keep in mind when you're looking at the data that we're looking at the ending number of the comparison day from the previous term. So if we're lagging behind, it's because we're in the morning period of the day. And we have been closing the gap over time. Dr. Crockman is in the audience, and she's the one who does the trending. But you can see the gap closing. Yes,
What
sir.
is your hour to hour? Is it like 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. or what's your?
This is live data.
Well,
Now,
but
this is a screenshot from.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying from your comparison date, it just rolls over from 12?
Right, so-
11:59.
Yeah, it's a very good question, because we don't actually currently have a data warehouse, which you'll hear me talk about hopefully in the next year or two, at Texas Southern University, which would create, and I know Dr. Crockham will back me up here, will create a warehouse for data that freezes data from our past. It's a little tricky. One of the tricks about building this dashboard is we're in a live production database that's very dynamic. Things that happened last year can technically change slightly over time, as maybe a student is moved from one major to another and stuff like that. So we're actually going to be freezing data from last year's tables, and this is technical talk, so that we can create some consistency going forward. It's a challenge, but we're doing it. It's a good question, actually. You can see the graph in the middle is designed to tell you how we are in terms of payment status, the pie chart. When we first built the dashboard, this was very scary because, as you know, so many of our students are assisted by financial aid that most of them had an unpaid status. So you can have all the people registering in the world, but if they're not paying, it can be very scary. So Dr. Lane asked us to create a category that indicates that the students are well on their way to satisfying their financial aid requirements. And so you can see where it said we have a category for paid. The lighter orange category is not paid, but they are in the works. And then, of course, we have deferment and paid and so on. So are there any questions about this dashboard?
What does deferment mean?
Now you're out of my territory. So deferment means they've worked up a payment plan, I believe,
Okay.
over the course of the semester.
You can count them, but you can't totally count them yet.
Right. And Dr. Crockham's area vets this data, just so you know. Obviously, we're the technicians. We don't deal with the data every day. So she's been vetting this. Brian Armstrong's worked with us on the admissions tab. Linda Ballard's worked with us on financial aid. So this data gets vetted by those departments. And the data's been there. It's just never been displayed this way.
I had a question, Mr. Williams, about the deferred. And I do know that all colleges and universities now are required to offer some sort of payment plan. They can no longer say, we got to get all our money up front or you can't come to school here. They have to offer some sort of payment plan. At what point do you count them? When they make the first payment or when they've made the last payment?
Once you have an agreement,
Okay.
then they become just like, for example, financial aid students. We had received the financial aid, but because it's guaranteed by financial aid, it is received just like at your home. Once you sign on the line and you make the necessary first installment, well, not the first installment, but once you sign on the line, if there's any initial payment that's required, your account.
Any other questions?
But you're also purged if you don't pay. And so by the 12th class day, I think is when we actually purge students, if I'm not mistaken. Is that accurate? Yeah, 12th
But
class day.
You're purged if you don't make
If you don't, yeah.
the first payment. Because under the
Yeah.
installment plan, there are like three
They have a couple of payments, yeah.
during that, and the second and third ones don't occur till, actually the third one till like November.
So later on in the semester.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
purged if you don't make that first payment. You're given a certain amount of time to
You
make
get
the
time,
first
if you
payment.
don't, you're.
Okay.
Antonio, can you go back to the registration tab? Okay, I want to point that out, actually. That's good information. My expectation is that the comparison day data may surpass our final comparison term data number and go beyond that, and then once we purge, it's going to come back to the 8965. That's going to be interesting to see that on the dashboard over time. Okay, the next tab is admissions. I'm going to go through these very quickly because I think we're more focused on enrollment than anything, but everything starts with applications, right? So we also have a tab here that is capturing for us the data on how many applications we're getting, how many of those are being completed, how many of those students are being admitted, and so on. So again, when you'll get a chance to see this for yourselves, this is the first step, and we're capturing first-time transfer and first-time freshman information as well on this particular dashboard. There you can see the graphs. We actually have had more applications this year than we had last year.
So this gives folks like Brian Armstrong the ability to look at this data. He and his staff have targets that we've set our goals that we're asking them to try and reach. And so again, we want them to exceed the 8965. Well, how do you do that? How do you look at the applications? How do you look at trying to make sure the students complete those applications? So these are targets that are beginning to be set inside of key areas like enrollment management.
Thank you, Dr. Lane. And now let's look at the financial aid tab. Again, this is data that we vetted through Linda Ballard and clearly out of my area. But it does let me know what ICER stands for now, since it's actually on the screen. The Institutional Student Information Reports that we receive, this all starts with the student applying for financial aid through the federal process and so on, and then sending them to schools and so on. We're now capturing data about how many of those things have been processed, how many of those applications are selected for verification. This is all financial aid talk that I'm not that familiar with, but it gives, again, this is a part of the picture. We're going to start telling a story of how we're doing compared to the last year. And while I'm on that subject, Dr. Lane's made it clear that we're not trying to simply match what we did last year, right? So when we go to these dashboards, and I expect these to grow in number and in value over the next year, we'll be setting targets. These dashboards will include some targets for each of the colleges based on their data and what trends and so on that's happening in their areas, so that we know more specifically how we're going to grow here over time, right? It's not just about matching last year. Again, this is about how many financial aid packets have been completed and so on. And then finally, we're going to have a summary tab, which is the next screenshot. Oh, I'm sorry, you have a question?
Yes, so the package, that is also comparing from this year to last year?
That's correct. Good question. I kind of skated over this. The registration tab, we're comparing to the same day last term. The admissions tab and the financial aid tabs, it's at the end of term.
At the end of term, okay.
Yes.
The package tab here means we've received the ICER, we have everything that's from the student, and they are ready to go to school. The actual registered number is of that number, how many students are actually registered here. We will later, we're going to be able to click on that package button to see those students who are not registered, and then begin to go out and transfer that to the enrollment people. Say, look, we've got you ready to go. You just need to register for classes. And so that's a recruitment tool. And we want to boil down any group, on every group, as well as the other items that you saw. An institution or a college will be able to click on their college and get a list of students who's registered or not registered, so that their advisors or the student services specialists in those departments will be able to reach out and say, look, we need to get you registered, we need to get you packaged. And so that's the strength of these dashboards, and that's the reason why it was high on priority to move institutional research under our offices, so we can make sure we keep an eye on that.
I understand your question, but thank you. With regard to that, we all know many students apply to more than one school. And so we have students.
I assume we do, because every university does. You have students who have applied and have been admitted, but for whatever reason, they selected one of the other universities that they were admitted to rather than ours. And we still have them in our system because they've applied and they've been admitted. How are we dealing with those?
In the past, we've had a buzzer, Marcus, let me see if I can explain it in our we've had a buzzer mentality where we let students die on the door, rather than going out and have a hawk mentality where as soon as the student applies, we wait until we see if they submit information to us. We have a new strategy that we want to implement as part of the strategic enrollment management plan, that when a student applies, within 3 days, they receive a letter back from the president that says, yes, you've been accepted. Now, accepted is one thing. We want to accept our students. Whether they can have the necessary credentials to get admitted, that's another story. So we want to work on those students, so we want to reach out for them. We know from ACT whether we're the school of first choice or third choice. And so what we're trying to do is change the mentality of how we go after our students, connect the offices of financial aid, admissions, outreach, all together under
under one span so that they know exactly what to do with these particular students and have weekly and bi-weekly meetings to say, we've got these students in waiting. Where are they in the process? So we can send them and say, look, you're registered for TSU. Will you accept this registration? We don't want to wait for them to have to come in and do something. We know the classes that they need to take based upon their major the first semester. Students coming from community colleges, we know the pipeline that they're in, and that's what we're trying to develop.
So we know from ACT whether we're the first choice or second choice now?
Yes, ACT publishes a report to show the institutions, for those students who took the ACT, the institution of, because they list on there what are your choices there.
And granted, I'm trying to relate this to my own experience, which is a little bit dated, a lot dated, you know, over 35 years dated. But but that, because I remember when I applied to law school, I applied to 8 law schools. Once I selected the law school that I was going to attend, as far as I know, the other 7 never heard from me again. So they didn't know whether I was coming or not coming or
well,
what.
the information is that all the other 7 were crying because they didn't get that particular student. But yeah, I understand.
Regent Bryant.
Have we given any thought to how we potentially might utilize this, Dr. Lane, with alumni in the recruitment process, particularly the closing aspect of it, as Mr. Williams has really just mentioned? Because I was at one institution a couple weeks ago, and one of the startling statistics was the role that alumni play in the recruitment process. I mean, it's just flat out amazing. If I shared that stat with you, it would be baffling. So I don't know if there's any advantage in terms of once this data is gathered at some point where there's an unknown in terms of whether or not the student is going to come, how we potentially might get some of the alumni clubs across this U.S. involved in that process. But
that's a great question. And Eva and I have been working on that. Speaking of our alumni chapters across the country, we've just started our Alumni Advisory Council. And the idea is that those councils not only, or that council has representation from, let's say, some alumni leaders in Dallas or Atlanta or Houston or California. And so not only do we want those folks engaged in giving back to the institution, but since we don't have the funds to station recruiters all over the country, we're utilizing the alums as our recruiters. So I'll give a nice prop to Corey Williams, for example, who's up in Dallas. She's one of our alums, and she's also the TSU National Alumni Society person, a rep in Dallas. And very, very well connected in the TSU, but she helps with our recruiting efforts. Now, what we've done with them in the dashboards, we'll start to add pieces to this. One could be the alum piece, because we've given those folks targets to try and hit. So it's not just enough anymore to be a part of the Alumni Association. You have to do a little work and actually recruit some students. For example, Corey knows the superintendent from Duncanville, who is a TSU alum. And so we are going to get more students from Duncanville. That's what we're aggressively targeting. And so, and in that Dallas-Fort Worth area, for Regent Terrell and Regent Lewis, we'll be up there a lot. And so that's how we're going to try and utilize, but the data drives all of our decisions, and so we're being more efficient and not just kind of shooting in the dark anymore. The intelligence is in front of us. We're going to try and use it more.
I wanted to comment on that, Sam, and that's a good idea. But another thing we may utilize, and again, I'm drawing back from my own experience. When I was accepted, for example, at the University of Houston Law School, even though I didn't go there, I was accepted anyway, admitted. One of their student leaders, he held some sort of student leader position, and they flagged because I was from the same hometown he was, even though we didn't know each other. But they flagged it, and somehow they convinced him, I don't know if that was part of his job or whatever, he sent me a letter, and he called me to encourage me to select the University of Houston. And he related to that, I'm from Fort Worth too, I went to school at so and so, and we were able to relate, even though we didn't even go to the same school. He went to a school across town, but I knew of his high school. And so maybe that's something we can utilize too. Some of our student leaders, when we get them in, we can match them with people from their hometown and get them to write them a letter or make a phone call to them and encourage them to come.
They're your best recruiters typically. They don't like us gray-haired folks all the time, so.
And where we are now, the technology that will be used will be Facebook, Snapchat, those other things to reach out to them.
Keep going.
I want to thank you for creating the other 15 or 20 dashboards I got to build now. So finally, the last screenshot is just a summary page. So there's a summary tab. In case you don't have time to run the others, you can just run the summary tab and get a snapshot of the other tabs. One of the reasons we didn't show you the live dashboard, we're going to show you, I've decided, but we're not going to run it live. So Tony, if you can bring that up while I'm talking, is it doesn't render correctly through some of these rejectors. I'm doing this on a larger monitor, so it won't show the whole screen at one time. But I want to debut something that just went live yesterday that Dr. Lane hasn't even seen. So I'm going to spring it on him if he can pull that up. This is the dashboard live. We ran these. Antonio may have been running these, and see we have some issues with the way it renders. My pie chart got messed up down there. But this button right here actually is a drill down, and if you'll click on that, we already drilled it down, but this is now data specifically related to the Liberal Arts and Behavioral Science College, so collabs. If you scroll to the right, that actually gives you a list of all the registration by majors. So now we're starting to get into more detail that the various deans can look at in their college to see why are we down in this particular program. There are going to, Dr. Crocom's probably freaking out because we went live with this yesterday, but there are going to be issues that we are going to identify where a major is misapplied to the wrong college as well in the Banner data system. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but occasionally data gets entered incorrectly in systems. So this is another use for the dashboard, is it will allow us to make some corrections along the way. I think Dr. Lane and I have agreed this is called myth busting in some regards, right? When you start looking at the data in this way, this transparently, it can also change your view on what's actually happening at the college. And again, the data's been there. We're just coagulating it, if you will, in a new way. So this is brand new, and once you get access, and I will be sending you instructions on how to get access with his permission. In fact, some of you may have already gotten an email to your TSU email about this. You'll be able to see this for yourself as it evolves and grows. This is just the executive dashboard for student. We will be building one around the budget and finance and apparently around alumni data and things like that as well. Argos doesn't care if the data comes from Banner. It will pick up data from other sources if we have those. So anyway, that is my presentation. And are there any other questions?
Ms. Brock?
Will this dashboard be available to the whole campus or just like administration-wise?
It will not be available to the whole campus. This is, at least not now. If we get to the point where we have a data warehouse, which means we're not running it from production, then that's a possibility. Of course, some of this data may be confidential or have other purposes, but that we would want to share. But right now, this is running against production. So anything that runs against production might impact the production system, and I got to be careful with that. So we're asking, when you get access, focus on the wee hours of the morning or after hours, which I'm not sure when those hours are here anymore at Texas Southern University. It seems like we're working all the time. But just, or collaborate maybe. And if worse comes to worse, we may set up a system where we're at least sending you periodic screenshots of things in your email so you can kind of see what's going on. Good question.
24 hours a day, huh?
25.
Welcome to the new TSU.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Mr. President, anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. So we will now hear from our student, SGA president on the progressive students, Mr. Justin Lee.
Mr. Chairman, before
Yes,
Justin comes, I wanted to make a comment that I intended to make yesterday when we were talking about articulation agreements, Dr. Ward. I just wanted to remind everybody here that our regent, Mr. Sam Bryant, has a wife who is a member of the board of Austin Community College. I just wanted to remind,
Yeah.
we're talking about
GG is
articulation agreements with community colleges. I was just reminding them that your wife is a member of the board at Austin Community College.
All right. Think we got an inside track? Mr. Lee,
Good morning.
welcome.
Where do I start? I'll start from the beginning of the summer. I forgot to mention last June, we, as SGA, went to a conference to get better prepared to serve our student body. With the help of a number of people around campus, that was successfully completed. Also, our Royal Court went and got well equipped to operate throughout the school year as well in June to look to par as a Royal Court shall, as well as my cabinet and the rest of SGA having a retreat to be better equipped to serve the rest of the student body as well. We are ready to handle any and every concern that comes from the students. I will let you all know personally what concerns come from them as well. Also stating that people have been complaining already about the School of Communications. So that's something that you all should look into. I will make sure you get that list as well. The SOS program was a great program. We had our ups and downs, but we learned, and whoever takes my spot next year will work closely with whoever's over the program to make sure that everything is in order.
And I guess, Justin, you got a new location, right?
Well, I have two locations.
Okay.
I am in the Student Center, and I am in 220 of the President's Suite.
Got it. So that means, I'm assuming that means you have access to the president. Any issues that you have, that you hear about, he'll hear about.
He will, and I will also report them to you all.
Great, great. Anything else? Regent Rosa, something? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. You're doing a heck of a job. Now we'll hear from our Senate President, Dr. Raul Sandiford. Welcome, Dr. Sandiford.
Good morning, Regents. I think you said it well. We have a new day at TSU. So good morning, Regents, President Lane, and colleagues. It is very exciting to start the new academic year with the hope of the new beginning for Texas Southern University. With your vision, leadership, and support of Dr. Lane, joining together with the faculties and staff support, we will have a winning team. Recently, Dr. Lane made TSU history as the first incoming president to attend the Faculty Senate meeting and participate in a meaningful dialogue with our senators. Needless to say, he was well received as he assured the Senate that he plans to work closely with us and our faculty. Furthermore, in the past 60 days, Dr. Lane has made several difficult decisions in support of many of our faculty, staff, and students that will affect their future dramatically. His effort is greatly appreciated. This past Wednesday, Dr. Lane attended the first opening faculty meeting and openly exhibited his passion for Texas Southern University and its stakeholders. He encouraged all of us to work together as a team and help our students to achieve greater success than ever before. Our faculty were visibly drawn to Dr. Lane's enthusiastic yet humble attitude as he expressed his vision for this university as its 12th president. A few days ago, he attended our one-stop registration and personally greeted all staff and faculty members who were involved in the process. Everyone was delighted to meet the president and felt appreciated for their effort. The Faculty Senate and faculty members are committed to support and honor the president by working in unison with him to overcome any adversity that may arise from time to time. On a final note, I wish to express heartfelt appreciation to Greg Ness for his service and wish him the best success as he leaves us to pursue your endeavor. Thank you for your service to Texas Southern University, its students, staff, and faculty, and state of Texas. Thank you all.
you, Dr. Senator. That report does our heart well. Board. Gonna do an update on housing.
Very quickly, I wanted to update you on, to actually show you a few pictures of the progress. I think that was on the website from yesterday. Yvette, would you come down, please? I want to introduce to you, Yvette Barker. You spoke of her at the special call meeting. She will share with you some additional information. Antonio, would you bring up the slides?
She has been up literally 24 hours, so I'm just glad she's walking and still smiling.
That's a great t-shirt, by the way. Great t-shirt.
Let me just quickly walk through a few photos to kind of give you an update on where we are. And the purpose of this is just to say thank you so very much. Next slide, please. I wanted to show you the before picture. That dark brown spot that you see in the middle of the hallway, that is a dark brown spot. On the right there is the after picture of the exact same spot. Next one, please. The living room that's been updated and refreshed, brand new carpet. That's the same furniture, but people are actually believing that the furniture is a little bit different now. The rooms have been painted. The smell, when we first, Ms. Barker was pretty clever. It was 103 degrees heat index that day, and she took us over to the residence hall, and we walked in. We smelled some smells that I hadn't smelled since I was in college, but I didn't inhale. Next slide, please. The updated kitchen area in the same room. Next one. Next one. I probably would pause right now and ask our student Regent to give a question, but I think you see the look that's on her face right now. Next one, please. Now, this was taken yesterday, and the young lady that's in the photo, she looks like she's looking at the tall guy with the backpacks, but I'm hoping that she's saying, "Girl, you better get over here because the rooms are filling up." So, Ms. Barker, would you kind of give us a report on where we are?
On Sunday, good morning, Regents. Morning, Chair. Good morning, President. On Sunday, we had a very eventful day. We had 798 beds in the new freshman facility, and we are down to 700, and we filled 765. We had lots of help on Sunday. President Lane came out, Mr. Williams. We had the Alumni Association. We had about 18 student organizations that came and helped the students move in. We had the student Regents as well as the SGA. So it was a very festive time on Sunday. The students, they really felt connected with all of the help that they had on Sunday with the check-in. And then the cafeteria opened on Monday, so right next door to the housing in the same facility, they're now able to eat. So if you pass through there, you'll see a lot of traffic. And they love the food. The students are not complaining about the food, and they're comparing it with the cafeteria at the high school, so they're like, this is great. So we have no complaints going on at the housing facility, at the freshman housing facility. First, I want to say thank you all as well for 2 weeks ago, taking time out of your busy schedule to meet, to agree to give us the extra monies, to be able to upgrade Courtyard and Tailwester. We moved in about 420 students yesterday. I had no complaints. No parents came back to ask any questions. The students were very comfortable, and they really appreciated the new facility. Paint and carpet, that's a whole lot. So we really appreciate that, and we're going to continue with assisting with upgrades in the housing. But we had no complaints. So, and we still have about 160 beds left, but we have students still trying to move in. So we're making it work. Oh, one parcel. We got rid of him. One parcel. He was there on Tuesday.
I was waiting for you to reveal the formula that you used to get rid of the smell of nitrogen. That's something that I know is very difficult to, or I've heard.
all the painting and everything else? Because that's amazing to really get that as a thing complete. Yes, ma'am.
They work 24 hours a day.
Wow.
And we have to thank Mr. Bunch and the rest of the staff and the maintenance crew. When we promise, they deliver, and thank them so much. Ms. Brock?
I just wanted to put the word to everyone that I've lived in housing for the past 2 years, and it was that standard that TSU has had horrible housing. So once the freshman dorms went up, it was kind of like, oh, okay, the freshmen getting the dorm, what did we get? When I, along with the SGA president, we got to tour Courtyard in Tilworth on Tuesday, along with Ms. Barker, it looked totally amazing. It looked totally different. And even yesterday, while we were here, checking my social media and seeing they were excited to move in. They were taking videos of, Courtyard in Tilworth, people are actually excited to move back on campus. And I think with the more people we have on campus, the more campus involvement we'll have, and the whole morality issue will just come together. But I told her that on Tuesday, it's amazing what some paint and new flooring will do. But especially in the Courtyard, it really needed it. So I think with the change we've made in housing, the changes we'll make going forward, it was very, very much needed and very much appreciated as well. And as far as us being able to keep up with the damage, now that everything's been renewed and refreshed, we now know what it looks like before they move in. So we can better, keep accountable of what happens, their check-in process, their checkout process, so we can keep the norms up. So thank you.
You mentioned where you have the RAs on each floor, just real quick.
Every floor has an RA. And what we did in this check-in process, the students actually received their keys from their RA on the floor. So they got to meet the RA, and the RA actually got to meet every student on their floor. So it wasn't a general check-in process where you just got a key from a person. You got your room key from your RA.
Well, any other questions? Regent Brown.
Are there other dormitories that we need to continue to rehab or
Yes.
whatever?
Yes.
To get the same kind of feeling that Regent Brock really says that the student had yesterday or the other day when they toured.
Well, the Tail West Oaks, we didn't do the interiors in Tail West Oaks, so we need to continue that. And as we in housing do what we need to do, we're gonna have more students wanting to stay in housing, so we're gonna need more housing. So maybe the mayors may need to be looked into in some type of refurbishing of the mayors.
The idea is we'll have that all planned and timed, and we're going to have to have a special call meeting. We won't do that, so we'll have it all scripted out.
Let me ask you a question. I noticed you mentioned this, Margaret, it was mentioned yesterday. I'm somewhat familiar, if you will, if you go close to the mic. Okay. I'm somewhat familiar with Lanier Hall. And as a bit of a historian myself, I'm all for historic buildings. But Lanier, what can you do with with a facility that is that old? It was Lanier. How old is it?
About 60 years old. The former institution where I was, we inherited an Air Force base, and it had some old military barracks on it. And for a lot less money than what you imagine, as long as the infrastructure is okay, that we know some of the infrastructure in a 60-year-old facility will not be. But there are some things like removing some walls and making them single apartments where you can make this very attractive. We know that the community stalls are going to be a problem when you come to bathrooms there, but there are some minor things that you can do, like privacy petitions and those things, to even make those a bit more attractive. So there are some things at a reasonable cost, as long as the architects or someone can tell you that the infrastructure is in good shape and it's a good sound foundation, then you can do at a minimum cost to bring those facilities back alive. But once again, we want to fill everything up first, and then if we have demand, then we will schedule any kind of renovations based upon the revenue that we're getting in. any kind of renovations to those that happen during this upcoming year so that we can make sure that we can get them online. We did budget for one of the facilities to be open, but we're going to really try to capture those resources by increasing our ability to do summer camps and do these other things, because whether you're getting revenue from students or you're getting it from external resources, the same amount of revenue can apply. So we're going to do what we can to have a real vibrant summer program. We would love to be able to do the SOS for all students. If our partner, not to around the cities, have denied students admission, and we can make sure that we can make sure it's successful, we don't mind asking them. We'll take your students. You can see the kind of students that they can produce, and think about the revenue that they can produce over the summer.
Well, as I said, I said in all seriousness, I was concerned about Lanier. In 1965, when I was 11 years old, my oldest sister moved into Lanier Hall as a freshman, and it was not a new building then in 1965. Yeah.
Well, you know, I went to school when I was 100 years old. You know, I agree with you. It costs a lot of money not to these buildings now, but not as much as Thank you. Thank you. All right. We're going to move on to our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move.
Second. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Regents, we will move to administration and finance. I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget 2017, fiscal year 2017 budget.
Mr. Chairman, one of the reasons that I didn't want that to move to consent is because Bishop Bledsoe was here yesterday, and I understand he is en route from the airport. Calvin is going to pick him up. Okay.
That's correct.
And if there's something else we can do, because I know he would want to be able, we used to have something to say about the budget, or at least, before we approve the budget, I know he would want to be here.
Okay, we'll move to the next item. I'll entertain a motion to approve the renewal of fiscal maintenance agreement with Network Solutions. Is there a motion? There's a second.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Please roll abstention. Thank you. Motion passed. Regents, we're going to also go down to the audit. I'll entertain a motion to approve the ratification of administrative policies. To excuse me.
I did look at the map in question, which is basically like the map on maps, but it's called General Administration Administrative Guide. And what I determined is that maps actually do not require Board of Regents approval. There's a process that the Chief of Staff is to undertake to have them passed internally. And you want to distinguish maps from board policies, which take precedence over maps and control maps. But the ones that are just being changed, there's no problem if the board wants to ratify them, but it's not required that they even come to the board at all.
So what about the new policy?
The new policy, I think, should be pulled. I think the whole thing should be pulled.
But we were saying that it had to
If there's an internal,
post it for 20 days or 30 days, something like that.
20 days, yes, there's an internal policy that needs to take place.
So you're going to post it, and we'll come back in October and approve it?
No, I think it just needs to undergo an internal process, and then it will be put into effect.
So why was it here?
I think there was an error, somebody thought that the board had to approve it. I think there's been some precedent for that, but I confirmed in the policy, it says absolutely nothing about board approval of maps. It does say that board policies control maps. A map cannot conflict with the board policy.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. Okay. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right. So,
Regents, since we only have the budget to approve, what I'll do is, we'll go ahead and go, we have a couple items we need to handle in the closed session. We'll do that and then come back. And hopefully, we won't be gone that long, 30 minutes max, but then that'll allow a little time for Regent to let those go out. Okay? So I'll entertain a motion to recess the closed session at 10:24 a.m. under the Texas Government Code, Section 551, 071, 072, 073, 074. Motion. So moved. Second.